on the roadside, the orphans, proposal which was made in 1995, after which the self-help group movement, basically to eradicate the poverty, came into force. Now what does that report which say we see whatever the schemes are being implemented by our country, or for that matter any poor country, that during the Mahabharata time, so the Guru asked the first person who was going to hit the eye of that parrot, "Meeku em kanpadutundi?" So one fellow said, "I can see a tree, I can see mangoes over it, and I can also see a bird." So then the Guru said, "You cannot hit the target." Then second fellow came, he said, "Meeku em kanpadutundi?" This fellow also said, "I can see a tree, I can see a parrot, I can also see there is an eye of a parrot." When it came to when the target is the only eye, the person should see only eye. And most of the government projects, especially dealing with the poverty elevation program, the real poor has to be actually identified, and then whatever are the schemes actually has to be focused on this. Who's the poor, and then only the correct identification of the poor will take place. So the most challenging step is to identify the poor. Let us recognizing the poor, what has to be done? So step number 2 is we have to organize the poor. Auto driver organization, a rice mill organization, a bar association, and I giving 50 rupees. Definitely we will So we will do some association. They have a voice. And everybody who actually goes and tinkers with them, they know that the association will get organized. They can organize in any form, any community-based organization. The one which is now very well flourishing in our own state is the self-help group. And what are the major causes of the poverty? Are the causes within us? So step number 4 basically is we have to show them a path of livelihood. We have livelihood, they cannot do it on their own. If you say, okay, there some so then we definitely have to show a path of capital. Now suddenly you cannot give 5 lakh to everybody. Sorry, andru pedrikam kabatti andarki 5 lakhs punch pettesandi and then they will become rich. If you give 5 lakh to any poor family, what that person will do? First 5 lakh vachindi oka buy some board, some TV, some scooter, ila. So 1 lakh anyway will go. Migiledi only 4 lakh. What will happen? Definitely some fellow from somewhere will come and know that this poor has got 4 lakh. He will say, "You give me your 2 lakh, I will double within 1 year." So this fellow everki chappakonda 2 lakhs ichi 4 lakhs ichi ni cheppi aa 2 kuda potundi. Then ultimately he is left only with 2 lakh. With 2 lakh what he will do? Suppose with 2 lakh he would like to kudiga punch pettaru, attaki istaru, maamaki istaru, oka 10 వేలు పెద్దగా బర్త్డే పెడతారు. సో అలాగే మిగిలింది only 1 lakh. And then the government will come and say, "Acha meeku 1 lakh vachindi kada, come let's do a livelihood." This fellow will say, "I want to buy a cow." We will say, "No, you go for mushroom. Why do you want cow?" So meme cheptam ee livelihood cheyu, which he is totally not even aware which livelihood I should do. So ichina 5 lakh ki labham em undadu. But in our own lekka we will say 5 lakh were given, this person from BPL has gone to APL. So we will never support that person, and for our own statistic reason, those all family uttiga have crossed to APL. So what actually I want to bring the point, that means we do expenditure, first we save and then we do expenditure. A poor mentality is, let me do some kharcha first, migilinda nenu save unde we actually eradicated. So if you see the self-help group movement, they started with 5 rupee of saving. A 5 now it is 100 rupee. 117 crore rupees of the bank linkage. So our poverty anedi 1 rupee saving nunchi ee roju it is attracting 800 crore plus loan from the banking sector. That means this part has been a hit. If they are taking 800 crore, that means they are investing on some livelihood. They are paying back. That is why the banker every year it doubles. If someone says, "Okay, 400 crore linkage ichanu, next year I will give 5 lakh," and they are returned. So this is the most important. That is, path of the capital is a very important tool for eradicating poverty. Let us say one person. Now I am coming to the 6th part. That is, behind every poor we need to put some safety nets. Safety nets, what do I mean by safety nets is, let us say some person, he or she bought the 6th step, the government should very proactively interfere and ensure that these safety nets in form of a legal framework. Let us say here, the legal structure should support if there is any land issue, if there is any other, let us say small issue of any under the legal ambient, it can be any poverty, it can be any family issue, it can be any marital issue, or it can be a simple theft. So etc. etc. So it is here which becomes very important. Done all those 5 steps, the 6th step of providing safety net in form of a legal framework, in form of an insurance sector, or in form of any kind of a pension, it comes very, very important for that. And the most important, the 7th and the last but not the least, the most important is the continuous hand-holding of a poor. So doing all this within 1 year and you leave the poor, that poor will again go back into the, the vicious cycle of poverty. So many a times, in fact sir, I was heading this UNDP for the past 3.5 years, from 2012 till 2015, in which we are working under this SHG group movement. There is so much of a power once you do all these steps, and then slowly you add on into it. Then these people only understand how we can actually come out of poverty. In fact, we have a lot of living example, testimony, in which simply by saving 1 rupee, the family actually is out of poverty. And in this, when I talk about the safety nets, it also includes the education and the health insurance part of it. So many loaning, at least 50 to 60% of this 800 crore loaning will definitely go into the education. So the first, if you see the second generation, most of them will be either employed somewhere as a doctor, as an engineer, as nurses. So this is actually, this clarity should be there. That these are the 7 steps and we add on to it. For example, I said first I will bring insurance, then I will bring capacity building. Our insurance ki kuda aim malakka undadu. Because that insurance also, if you see, in fact, as far as the livelihood also is concerned, it is also very clear. Livelihood also we say, a readily available livelihood is Narega. So we should, for 25 days in a month, will get pooled 2,700 rupees. So under livelihood also there is a readily, that ambient space for a wage-linked livelihood. Let them all go to Narega. That is the first is if dropped out or school dropout or graduate, go into a skill development replacement. That also abundant avenues are there under government. The last is the self-employment, where the person already whatever he or she is doing, you employ in the same kind of an occupation, or you actually introduce a new occupation. So under livelihood also, there is a very big canvas which actually government supports. So I'm sure legal services here for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts with you. And sir, it has been a real pleasure meeting you also on personal front. Thanks one and all.
Motivational speech given by you, your words of wisdom.
In fact, I would just say one more thing, sir. I invariably ended my speech with this, just to motivate all the audience. In fact, this is a quote which Mother Teresa normally says. This was her signature quote. What she used to say is that it is because of the poor, it is only because of the poor that we get an opportunity to serve them and get closer to our God. Imagine the case if there would have been no poor in this world, whom we would have served. And if we would not have served the poor, how we would have gone very close to the God. So this is a way in which we can serve the poor. Serving the poor, we come very close to our God. So rather than saying we are doing something for the poor, actually the poor are giving us opportunity to go close to our God. Thank you.
2015 and a booklet with FAQs. I request the Honorable Executive Chairman. Executive Chairman, Telangana State Legal Services Authority, to address the hearing.
Dr. Yogita Rani, the District Collector, Mr. Rukeshwar Reddy, Mr. Rama. I think the launching of the scheme has taken off on a very auspicious note. An auspicious note because she actually introduced 7 steps. 7 steps are called Saptapati. Therefore, the program has actually started with Saptapati. Saptapati cannot happen except on the days of the wedding. Interestingly, Arjuna became a disciple of Pandavas and Kauravas were playing. A person came that way. They were playing ball. Yes, the ball fell into that ball without getting drenched with a single drop of water. They were wondering how he would do that. He took a blade of grass, then he shot it like an arrow, and the blade of grass brought the ball outside. Then he also put when the children took him to their grand uncle Bhishmacharya and asked him that the person should be rewarded. The person who did all these tricks, he said, I don't want to be rewarded. I am living in hunger and poverty with so much of knowledge and skill at my command. I am not able to feed my child Ashwatthama with 1 glass of milk a day. Please don't give me alms, but give me employment. And the person who asked for it was none other than Dronacharya. And Bhishmacharya gave him employment rather than giving him money. This is what actually Dr. Yogita Rani Drona meant by saying that you must build the capacities before you provide money. We all know about this Chinese saying, if you want to help a man, don't give him fish, but give him fishing nets. If you give him fish, he will eat it and he will sleep at home. But if you give him fishing net, he will be encouraged to do work and earn his livelihood. That is all about those 7 steps that the district collector spoke about. We must remember what Swami Vivekananda said. When people talked about religion, Swami Vivekananda said, a religion which cannot give a loaf of bread to the poor has no place in India at all. I don't want that religion which cannot give a loaf of bread to the poor. And about the role of educated people like us, what Swami Vivekananda said, he said, so long as millions in this country live in hunger and poverty, so long as millions of people live in hunger and poverty, I hold every man a traitor who, having been educated at the expense of the masses, pays not the least heed to them. Therefore, if you want to call yourself an educated person, and if you do not pay heed to the call of the masses, who die of starvation and hunger, then Swami Vivekananda said, you are not an educated man, but you are a traitor. This is what all of us should keep in mind when we talk about poverty and hunger. The district collector also talked about NREGA program. I do not know how many of you are aware of this program, National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. But what happened was, sometimes some of these schemes, when they reach the poor people, there is some element of lack of motivation or proper training on the part of the beneficiaries. Our own experience in Tamil Nadu was that many persons who received 100 days of employment in a year on a daily wage of about 190 rupees or something per day, they chose to take that money, they chose not to work. They were willing to take half of that money, leave the balance at the risk of somebody else, and for this half, they were not willing to work but go directly to the liquor shop. Therefore, people at times get a feeling that these schemes we should have. At the same time, stakeholders like the government, policy enforcing agencies, and the people like us should ensure that the beneficiaries of schemes should make towards it. the examples of self-help groups was highlighted by the district collector. Self-help groups became successful mostly because they were comprised of women, because of the fact that they comprised of women. I have not heard of self-help groups for men. I do not know why. Because I think the men are interested only in helping others, or at least that's what the perception we have. But this is not working very well with men, because there is a tendency on the part of men to get weaned away from the family life, weaned away from good things in life because of various other attractions in life. What happened in the year 2000 was the United Nations set up what is known as Millennium Development Goals, MDGs. These Millennium Development Goals set up by the United Nations in 2000, September 2000, they were adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations. It gave 8 goals for every country to adopt. The first goal that this MDG adopted by the United Nations was eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. That was set up to be the first goal, eradication of extreme poverty and hunger. What happened was 2 targets were set under the MDG, under this Millennium Development Goal. Target 1 was to halve between 1990 and 2015 the proportion of people whose income was less than $1 a day. You know, $1 is today equal to about 70 rupees or so. The first goal set up by them at that time was, in 2000, was to bring down by 50% the proportion of people whose income is less than $1 per day. Thus, All India Poverty Headcount Ratio, 2 ratios were created. One was GAP, another was PHCR. The first was this Poverty Headcount Ratio. The estimate was, it was 47.8% in 1990 in India. Therefore, in order to meet the target, the PHCR level was set up at 23.9% by the year 2015. In 2011-12, the PHCR at All India level stood at 21.9%. It is an indication that insofar as target number 1 under the Millennium Development Goal, first goal is concerned, India has been on track. As a matter of fact, 2015, a report has been published by the United Nations on the status of this Millennium Development Goals in India. That status report says that target 1, India is actually on track. There is no difficulty about it. But insofar as second target was concerned, the second target was to bring down the proportion of people who suffer from hunger. What happened was, in the year 1990, the proportion of underweight children below 30 years was 52%. In order to meet the target, the proportion of underweight children should decrease to 26% by 2015. But the National Family Health Survey shows that the proportion of underweight children below 3 years declined from 43% in 1998-99 to 40%. Therefore, the second target, according to the United Nations report, India has not achieved, and that has become a great matter of concern for all of us. See, it is in this context that, having set a goal in the year 1990 to achieve something in 25 years by 2015, are we on track? If we are on track, where do we stand? If we are not on track, what is it that we are lagging behind? Is what all stakeholders, all policy makers should actually think about. Today what has happened is, in the opinion of the Western world, about 50 years ago, the Western world thought that India is a poor country. But today, the Western world thinks that India is a poor country, India is a rich country with poor people. 50 years ago, the thinking was, I do not know how many of you follow the cases of farmer suicides. I do not know how many of you read Sainath's articles on the suicides by farmers. In the state of Maharashtra, on a particular date when a few farmers committed suicide, this Sainath came up with a statistics where he pointed out that on a particular day in the year 2010 or so, the number of billionaires in India touched 1 lakh, the figure 1 lakh. The figure 1 lakh was touched. The number of billionaires in India touched the figure of 1 lakh on a particular day. Ironically and very unfortunately, the number of farmers who committed suicide in India also touched the figure of 1 lakh on the very same day. Therefore, the divide between the rich and the poor has become so huge in the country that it is going to be a very, very difficult challenge on the part of the government to bridge the gap and to alleviate the poverty level. Today, out of the population of about 125 crores in the country, the estimate is about more than 300 crores are living in poverty. In other words, 1/4 of the population of this country is living in poverty. 25%. That means for every 4 persons, 1 person is living in poverty. What are we going to do? If we are not going to do something today, then we will never be able to catch up tomorrow, because if this figure goes up, it is likely to go up because of the huge divide between the rich and the poor in the country. What are we? Bar Association was here. He also openly declared that the bar would do its best to participate in this program. In fact, today it is a question of participative democracy. We are not living in a state where somebody is ruling and somebody is being ruled. All of us rule ourselves. Therefore, it is the responsibility of every one of us to address ourselves. The people in the government, people in the executive, people at the political level were originally wondering what do courts have to do with such schemes? Normally, poverty alleviation schemes are promoted by the governments at the political level and at the executive level. We always, about 10-15 years ago, we would never have thought that judiciary will have something to do with all this. But today there has been a complete change of scenario. After the advent of the Legal Service Authorities Act in 1987, we have started playing a proactive role. We have realized that it is not merely the job of the judiciary to adjudicate disputes between two warring groups, adjudicate disputes between two persons who are pitted against each other. It has become our endeavor. We have taken upon ourselves the pledge that is declared in the preamble to the Constitution to promote an egalitarian society where justice, equality, equal justice to all, access to justice to all, fraternity, everything is promoted. It is in that context that the National Legal Service Authority has come up with 7 schemes, some of which actually border on the enforcement of the policies of the government. But what happens is, it like the water that flows, that springs from a mountain, before it reaches the stream and before it reaches a canal, there are a lot of leakages. Therefore, in every scheme, there is prone to be, like water, some kind of leakages. The role of the Legal Service Authority steps in at that stage. If somebody who is lawfully entitled to a benefit under a particular scheme,
Honorable Justice V. Ramasubramanian. Session of NASA Poverty Alleviation Skills 2015. We rarely get this kind of an opportunity to listen to the words of Legal Services Authority Nizamabad and Judicial Officers of Nizamabad District. I express our heartfelt thanks to members who have decorated this hall and actively made arrangements for this meeting. I also express my thanks to the print and electronic media for covering this program. I also